Hello everyone, I am Omnicorum, and today I'm going to be showing you the project file and some stuff in it for my most recent single, Can't Think. It came out today on the day of recording, the 27th of August, in the year 2020, and we're just going to be taking a look at the project file, the playlist you have here, and just some of the stuff that I did. So let's get right into it. Alright, so right here you can see the playlist. This is the entire arrangement. It's actually a pretty small song compared to most of the ones that I make. Usually I have to use up like a lot of these effect sections, all of these dubstep tracks, and then I don't generally use the automation, I just throw it in here. But generally my projects are a lot bigger than this, which is surprising. But this is really not that big of a song, and let's just go through it, I guess, starting with the vocals, because that's the first thing you hear. Those guys. That's a vocal that I got from just a vocal sample pack, and I was like, that's nice. Funny story, I thought the song that I was writing, this song, was in F major. It's not, it's in C major. And so I accidentally chose a vocal that was in F major. And so I just had to transpose it down a few semitones to get it into C. Ironically, because it's in F, it's almost the most amount of semitones I could possibly do. If it was an F sharp, it means I'd have to transpose it down 6 semitones, which is the most you ever have to transpose anything. So it gives this interesting texture to the vocal, which I also really like, along with the bit of processing that you can see over here. That's the processing on the vocal. If I take that off, sounds like this. And then when I turn it on, it just thickens it up a bit, and it sounds a lot nicer with the processing on. And it's just a vocal that I found that fit well. Not much else to say there, just the processing. And then we have these bells that slowly come in. And if you want to learn how to make a bell sound like that, I basically followed the exact same steps that I laid out in my sound design bells video. So if you haven't seen that, make sure you check that out. And this is basically the bell sound that you'll learn how to make if you watch that video. And then you have the drums, which start out pretty reverbed out, but then slowly get to not as reverb. And that is, here it is, just a battery preset here that I created that has, there we go. It has the kick drum, 3 snares, depending on what I use them for. I use all 3 in this song. Ride cymbal, close hi-hat, open hi-hat, and crash. And that's basically the drum kit that I use for the entire song. I don't really use anything else. And then that just basically builds up. We got some textures here, some pitched up vocals to create harmony. That's actually something cool that I did. This one is not pitched at all, which makes it sound pitched because the rest of it was pitched down by 5 semitones. So you get and which creates an interesting harmony. The fourth, which is a little weird and spacey, and I like it. And then you got another one, another 4th interval. And then I do it more with different pitches, like this one here is pitched up. I think that's 2 semitones. This one is pitched up by like almost an octave, and it just creates more harmonies. Which is cool. And I liked it, so I kept it. And then you get into the drop. And this is the part that I actually created first. And the way that I constructed, because the main thing about this is not like the sounds or anything, it's the chord progression, which is the kind of the interesting part about the song. Is I created the chord progression just on my piano back there in C major, and I was like, all right, this is a cool chord progression. I want to make this into a song, and I kind of make it one of those songs drops that like starts and then there's like a bunch of silence, maybe a little fill in there, and then it comes back in with the chords. That was the idea. But I knew that most sub sounds, like that's a sub, those sounds don't really work well for C. The note C is either usually way too high or way too low and can't really be played on most speakers. And so I wanted to transpose the entire song into F. And I did for the first few chords. These are the chords. We have just an F major 9. This chord, which is essentially a B flat, the B flat 7, just in a weird inversion. Which is all in F major. At this point, I was like, yeah, I've done it good. And then I forgot I was turning it into F major. And I threw in an E diminished chord. And at this point, actually no, it wasn't at this point. That's still in the F major. But then I put in that chord, which I think is an A minor 7. Yep, that's an A minor 7. And at that point, I was not in, I totally forgot that I was trying to move it to F, and I started putting it just straight into C, which created this weird chord progression that has, it like feels like it's in F, but it resolves to C. All of the notes are in F major, but that last chord wants to resolve to the C, which puts it in this really, really weird spot that I liked, and so I didn't change it. And that's how you got the emotion and flow of this song. And I just layered those chords in a nice rhythm with a nice little sub bass to give it some deepness. And then I also had these contact here. There they are. But it's just these pizzicato string contact library. Nope, that's the vocal. Just a nice pizzicato string that I used as those little bleepity bloops in between the chords that I talked about. The chord instrument themselves is really simple. It's literally just detuned saws that are distorted and then thickened up a bit. Literally nothing else. It's just saw waves. You just got these nice little percussion fills. I think I reversed this one along with that snare drum to just get a swell into the snare. Like that kind of a thing. Just more weird percussion effects and stuff like that. And then it just add more, like you add hi-hats to the drums. That's really the only difference. A little bit more percussion and that pluck layer I added to the strings. Like that, except this is more of a chordy pluck that goes for a little bit longer. And then you get into the little breakdown coming out of the drop. And you can hear, if you have really good ears, that there's a chord change. It's basically the same chord progression as the drop. You can see with these little spliced in sections that I had to change the chord to something else because of that weird F major thing. And because the vocal that I'm using under it is in C major, I had to frickin' change the chords with the A sharps or B flats in it from F major. I had to change those chords so it fit under a C major vocal, which was a little annoying to do. But I just chopped up the vocal into a rhythm and melody that I liked. Tripping, I'm feeling right. And then we got the higher version. I just chopped it up in a way that felt good. And then again, just slowly fading out the instruments instead of fading them in. And then until you get there. And then you get a slightly different version of the vocal chops where we start building it back up. And then you do the build up again, just like in the first part, although that is exactly the same. And then it gets into the second drop, which is just, I wanted it to be a complete, just like, surprise. You expect it to go back into the kind of staccato nothing drop. That's what I call the first one. But no, you just get these massive chords and square wave runs. Just get these massively overblown chords. I don't even remember how I came up with these chords. They're kind of similar to the originals, just like buttloads of extensions just piled on top. You can just see the amount of notes in that chord. We've got the sub going exactly the same except without the eighth note volume womp shape. I don't know. And then you also have this little layer over the top just to add a little bit more high end and some interest. And then you just gotta have the crashes on the kick to make it distorted. Just gives a little crunch. That's nice and beefy. And then to fill in those gaps, just square wave with OTT. I think that's all that is. Square wave with OTT. Classic. Very Virtual Riot sound right there. Like that, and it's just chords. There's really not much. It's weird. The biggest section of this song actually has some of the least going on. Then it just goes into essentially the first drop with wire chords on top of it. And some of the synth parts are a bit louder. Like that's slightly louder than it was before. But it's just a slightly more full version of the second half of the first drop. And then it goes just basically into the exact same thing. Except this time I just added those strings back in. I just added those strings back in, and then it just fades out. Slowly taking more and more out of the song. Until you just finally get that last kick on the root of the chord. C, and then a G, and then the next octave to the E. Weird inversion of C major. And then just got the sub on the C on top of a kick drum. And that's the end of the song. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want more of these song analysis videos, leave a comment in the comment section down below. If you absolutely hated this, leave some advice in the comment section down below. This is the first song analysis that I've done. So if you want to see more specific things, make sure to tell me that. I just want to know what could I do to make these better. Just let me know in the comment section down below. Like and subscribe really helps grow the channel and support me. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.